Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now, Captain Finance himself, Sully.
Yes, it is another beautiful day inside the Loft 100 studios because we are hanging out, bringing you the Big Biz Show. Hope everyone's having a great day. I'm Costa.
We're having a great time.
We're having a great day.
Big
Mary Godwin.
Things and the bobs and the boos and the big biz.
Mary Godwin in her beautiful forest green sweater. Greg Todoroff, always his black shirt.
Forest green. That is forest green, isn't it?
Forest green.
That's forest green.
It's forest green.
Are you willing it to be colder? It's pretty cold in the morning.
It's freezing in this studio. It's hot outside, but in here I need to dress.
I would
just our
sleep
souls.
in here. Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
It's just the darkness of our
I'd take a
souls.
nap in here.
You said
every
it, not
day
me.
if I could.
Now that President-elect Donald Trump has won, there is
won.
There's enormous speculation on who's going to join the cabinet.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, traditionally speaking, historically speaking, there is a bipartisan. I'm not going to say nonpartisan, but there is a bipartisan cabinet where some of the jobs go in one color of blue, the other ones go to some color red.
Yeah.
Mostly it's going to be red, but hey, Howie, you're better than this than anybody because you'll be president someday, and we're funding his, and we're going to rule the world.
Love it. That's right.
Who do we got, guys? Like, we have like Attorney General, right? We got Fed Chair. We got what else do we have? Is there the only ones I care about are Fed Chair,
FBI Director.
FBI Director. Who are we looking at? Huh?
Yeah, so really the only bipartisan stuff that happens in the cabinet level in these really high agency positions are usually a Democrat will strongly consider a SecDev Republican or CIA or an FBI Republican candidate. You don't really see it going in the opposite direction too much or beyond that scope. You might have some assistant secretaries of state that are Republicans or Democrats with the opposite party, but that's about it. But thank you for entertaining me with this today because I've just been obsessed with the betting markets and how good they've been at predicting all this. And so when you look at it, you have really good betting odds on seeing some of the names from the last Trump administration and some.
So is the poly market actually predicting cabinet members now?
Oh yeah, you can bet on who's going to be the next Attorney General, who's going to be the next Secretary of Defense.
But if it's more accurate than polling, I want to know. So who are they saying Attorney General? Mike Lee again?
Attorney General Mike Lee, senator from Utah. Yeah. Marco Rubio, Florida. He has not wanted to be a senator for like 8 years now.
So defense?
And so he's first in line for the Secretary of State job.
What about Pompeo? Pompeo's going to be back in business, right?
Yeah. Trump's old head of the CIA and then Secretary of Defense for a hot minute there. And then Treasury is interesting for the economy because it could be the former SEC secretary that's securities, not
Jay Clayton, right?
There,
Jay
Mike.
Clayton?
Jay Clayton.
Yeah.
And his biggest competitor, a little bit of a toss-up there, is the hedge fund giant, John Paulson.
Not to be confused with Pat Paulson from Laugh-In. Grateful. That'll bring you back to 1968. I think I just did everything.
Howie, what about Vivek Ramaswamy? Is there a position for him? Do you know?
Bless you.
He's not showing up for any of the cabinet level posts, but I think it's very likely that he, he's made billions on his own, and so he might want to go make some money and still be a political force, but he also could have a job in the White House. I could definitely see him in a chief strategist role, deputy chief of staff role.
I heard that RFK might be in some sort of health department spot.
FDA too.
Yeah, FDA.
Yeah, so he could have NIH. He could have.
Also agriculture. Agriculture. Right.
Well, agriculture is a little bit weird. He wants to clean up the food supply and take fluoride out of the water that are making the something homosexual. I forget. A freaking frog.
Stay there. Stay there, Howie. That's what I heard too. I want to make something heterosexual, so do I. There's that hot blonde in the cafeteria line. Oh, no. Big Biz Show. What the hell did you say? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say that we just had to edit out that you're not even listening? What did he say
We are inside the Loft 100 studios in sunny Southern California. Hope everyone's having a great day. It is the Big Biz Show. Right there, you're looking at the greatest in the business, the DTT. Swing back here. Mike Costa sitting at the bar. We got Mary Godwin. We got Greg Todorov, and of course, Sully.
Here's my question. There are bets on things that are in the poly market on not only cabinet people, and apparently, according to Howie, this election was pretty much predicted by the poly markets in terms of what people were betting on, which I think is great because polling, I think you can cherry pick data. And how often has polling been so wrong?
Well, it's so subjective,
right? And
so
people,
if you're leaning a certain way, you're going to read those polls to read a certain way.
I mean, if there was a Republican that wanted to vote for Democrat, they wouldn't admit it openly, and vice versa.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
I think because of just hello, no. This is a Trump household, and it's really, but it's not. But the rest of the family is. I mean, I don't think you're going to answer the telephone polls.
Yeah, who are they polling? That's what I don't understand.
Oh, haven't you gotten
answering the polls?
Have you not gotten poll phone calls before?
I get them all the time, but I don't answer them. So that's what I'm saying. Is like I don't click.
Or
the
if
link.
you do answer them, you don't tell the truth.
No,
so this
I make
$500,000 a year, and I'm 6'5".
So this is an example of the poly market here for what is being predicted in terms of number of Republican House seats after the election, or Democrat seats after the election. Trump ends the war in Ukraine by the first 90 days. So let's talk about some of this, Howie, because there is a 60%, according to here, 60% chance on ending taxes on tips for service personnel. Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really valuable tool when making guesses about what policies are going to go forward, especially the major ones. I mean, the fact that people are putting money on the certainty of a 90% chance of starting, deportation action in the first 100 days, you have to give some pause and then think about how that's going to affect people and the economy. Wait,
step right there. Because according to this, there's a 90% chance of deportation starting in the first 100 days of his presidency. That's what the betting line says, correct?
That's what the betting line says. People are putting their money on the line is how much they think about it. And you have to think about how many House seats you're going to have. Can you pass the legislation? What's Trump going to want to do? I mean, there's a lot of things that could go into it.
I want to ask Mike. Mike, when you look at the only reason that there is a injury report in the NFL
for the betting markets.
Yep. How often are the betting markets correct in predicting football games, giving points, taking points? Pardon me. The whole thing, is it?
They're easily north of the 80th percentile
of being correct.
Yeah.
And it's
shocking.
It is shocking how they get it down. You literally can go back and say they had it to a point. Mm-hmm. And they factor in all that and again.
And this is why when you bet on the favorite, you're not making a bunch of money because it's the favorite.
Right.
And if there's an upset, which is a course of luck and injury or whatever, I'm talking
boom.
About, of course. Talk about ending the war in Gaza. Now, this is something that would come down to Donald Trump's, who loves to do one-on-one with world leaders.
Yes.
It's something that he's been pretty good at, although I don't know how trustworthy having a one-on-one with Xi Jinping is going to be. But the long story short is there is a 60% chance, according to this betting line. Actually, now it's 40% on this line here. It was 60% this morning. Trump ends the war in Ukraine by the first 90 days. And it's chances are almost even that happens. Talk about that a little bit, because this morning, as you can see, or actually I think it was yesterday or the day before, there was a 60% chance. As you saw the spike there, and then it dropped the day before the election, and then it popped up. I wonder if there's technical analysis available on this so you can predict this just like you can predict stocks.
Yeah, I mean, volume is really important. So these don't become predictive until you have enough of a market. So it's important to remember that. But I do think that, a good test will be something like ending the war in Ukraine, because there's some news out this afternoon that the Trump administration is, that the transition committee actually is drafting language on a proposal for that. So if that rises from 17 this morning to whatever it is now or the next couple of days, we'll see how good at predicting these things actually are. And it means that we're going to know, politicians are going to know what to fight against. People are going to know what to expect. It's just more information is usually a better thing. Sunshine, best disinfectant.
Hey, just for Mike's sake, click on that NBA champion or Super Bowl champion 2025 and see what it says there. I think number one says there's a 19% chance.
It's Chiefs.
That it's going to be Chiefs.
Come on.
Lions is next.
Yeah,
Lions are super.
Click on that. Let's see what that says. Mike, let's see how you feel about this. So there's 19% chance Chiefs. It's all pretty even. Look at
Where are the Raiders on?
Scroll down a little bit so we can see the rest of the teams.
Just watch it, Mary.
Oh, there we go.
No, I
I'm sure Chargers aren't up there either.
Who?
No,
Why do you cover the Chargers? You don't live in LA?
This day,
they're
this
dead to
week
me.
is already hard enough on me.
They're dead to me.
Come on, let me see.
Chargers.
Are the Raiders even on the board? It's
No.
got to be less than 1%.
Less.
Okay.
Who's?
Keep going. Oh,
Chargers
Chargers
are
ahead of the Raiders.
Yeah.
All right. Come on. Where's my
They're
Raiders?
still good.
Hey, Howie.
Where are the? Hey.
Negative 1%.
But so are the Patriots, too. Hey, Howie, what website is this called again? Is this Polymarket?
This is polymarket.com.
Yeah.
Kalshi is legal in the U.S. Polymarket is not for U.S. citizens currently, so keep that in mind, everybody.
These last two, I think, are really interesting to me for a person who, if he sees the crop circle special, he's going to sit there and watch it for the next 60 minutes, no matter if the building's burning down. 10% chance that Donald Trump declassifies UFO files. I would love to see.
Oh, please.
Did he say that on the campaign trail?
Well, I don't know, but it's part of this. There, somewhere on that list there on polymarket.com. The other one is 35% chance he's going to declassify all JFK files. Two things, right?
Come on.
Let's get a big thing of Funyuns and just watch that.
Just do
little,
it.
little butter for dipping.
They ever will.
You think there's
No
too
way.
much dirt?
Dude, on our own government. I don't think they would do that. I think it would destabilize people's faith in our government.
Well, and you got RFK
I don't think they would
there,
do that.
and they come out and say, okay, it was Lyndon Johnson who helped kill JFK. You know, that type of thing. Yeah, there's some things better left unsaid. I
Totally
agree with you.
Move on.
When it comes to that.
So let's go back to the main betting board there. And Howie, is there anything surprising you, who is a junkie for politics and a junkie for these types of things? Because I mean, you are clearly someone who follows these things on a daily basis. Are you anything on this thing surprising you? I'm not talking about
enough.
I'm talking about the all. Hit the all button. There we go. Like if you go down, administration, and I mean, like 62% people say Elon Musk will be part of the administration. I don't think he will, because that gets in the way of free market economy for Elon Musk. But
I mean, one of the reasons why I think that Elon prediction is wrong is because he's still trying to figure out his Tesla incentive.
Yep.
And he's not going to be able to be head of all these public companies and have a high cabinet position. I just don't think that's going to fly. So he's not going to give up the whole the court battle over his Tesla pay and go into government. He'll do something, I'm sure, but not until that is resolved will he have a chance of joining. I'm actually watching the tips, like we said, a 60% chance of that happening, because that seems a little bit high to me. I know that it was a big campaign commitment, but when you have the thresholds on legislation that there are, I don't know if he is going to have the votes or if it's going to be that much of a priority. So I'm going to watch for the next few months the predictive power that these have.
Is there anything on tax cuts? Is there anything on major changes for U.S. corporations on this list at all? And how does one get a category on there?
Yeah, so you have to be able to start a market, and there's a process. You can reach out to Polymarket and ask for certain betting lines to be made, ask for the official threshold, what constitutes a winning bet or a losing bet, and you have to put up a good bit of money to create the market. So there are big players involved in this, and then they let smaller players come in and bet against them and hedge their bets.
Howie, one of the things that Trump talked about during his campaign was crypto. Where do you think he stands with that now that he's president-elect?
Firmly on its throat.
No,
he seems to be a proponent.
In fact, he's giving him a nice little cuddle and a bib and a bottle, the crypto community. I mean, Bitcoin is at all-time highs, just like the market, and expected to go even higher. I think he's going to allow it. And I think one of the things that the crypto community sees as, a whim to them is Gary Gensler, the current SEC head, is probably going to not keep his job. And he's been fairly anti-crypto in his execution over at the SEC. So I think all to the positive, which is very contrary to his last term.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting here is, if you look back, Howie, I want you to take some time over the weekend and look at some of the major races across the country and see how close they were in terms of governors, in terms of House, because the president one is interesting. But I wonder if this is really an accurate prediction on how things are going to go. And I certainly hope it is, because polling is not. I wonder if we take the top, the biggest populous states and see how the governor's races came out versus how they were being bet on, because this is really a betting line here.
Yeah, it is.
To where you and it's interesting if what Mike says is true, which I believe it is about the reliability of the betting line. Then why wouldn't this be the way to go going forward? Because once again, we are the market makers on this, correct?
As they say, the house doesn't lose, and bookmakers do not lose money.
Well, there's consequences.
Exactly.
Boy, that was kind of deep. What sort of language you two guys have? Wow.
They locked eyes on that one.
6-day on the consequence case. Snatch the pebble from my hand. Big Biz Show. See you in a minute.
Show rolls on. Another great day in the Loft 100 studios, wherever you're watching. Wherever you're listening, we thank you for being along for the ride. I am Costa. Marybird Godwin is at the bar. And also one of our favorite all-time guests, speaker, CEO, coach, consultant, chief launch officer, Dan Negroni.
We're sort of matching today.
I know, I just noticed that.
Very good together.
Yeah.
Technically, that is called a Black Watch plaid.
Is
You're
it?
from Scotland, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have
Fancy.
Black Watch tartan.
I think,
Tartan.
I don't know what brand, maybe it was J. Crew. I thought it was J. Crew.
Works. I like it.
Okay.
I like it. Dan, always great to have you here. Sully and Greg, I'll be honest, I booted him out of the studio. Because when Dan's on tap, it's like, I want to hear what Dan has to say.
Yeah.
Mary and I have a lot of good questions.
You do have a lot of good questions.
Get them out of here.
That's right.
Type of thing.
That was nice of you.
How did, I don't know, as far as exit polling is concerned, I don't know if the information is out there, but Gen Z was going to, and maybe was, a massive part of this election.
Yeah, it's interesting
year.
because they thought Gen Z was going to be a massive part, but I think they were predicting a different result.
I think so
from
too.
Gen
You're
Z.
right. That's honest.
And so it's really interesting that Gen Z actually did show up. Like I had thought, oh my God, because they were saying Gen Z is going to be so great for the other candidate that they must not have showed up, but they showed up. They were in line on college campuses. We just were a little bit befuddled by how they were going to vote, and I think they voted for, and males versus females was a thing too, but they did show up, which is super cool.
My daughter got to vote in her first election. It's
That's
pretty
cool.
Yeah.
Well, and they kept, they kept on showing videos, especially when they had cameras. It doesn't matter the network. Cameras were out on college campuses, and you saw kids standing in there, even though they may have short attention spans. It's like, okay, I'm going to stand here. I'm going to vote.
I think they really cared about, using their vote to make a difference. And so it's interesting. We've talked about on this show not being strategic thinkers or not having gut decisions. But when it came to politics, they showed up and they voted, which is all we wanted from them.
I think
that's it.
I think they probably voted more than ever, right? Because of social media, they were encouraged by the influencers they watch or the celebrities that watch.
Were sure.
But I wonder how deep of a dive they took into the issues and didn't just vote. Like if they're maybe in echo chambers, which we all are, I think, of whatever the.
Yeah, because our algorithm is self-made.
Right, it's self-made.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but I do love that they showed up and they were there, right?
Yeah, like I asked my class, I was teaching Tuesday night election night, and they all voted. And 2 of them were like, yeah, we're going to vote right after this, every single one of them.
I didn't even think about elections until mid-20s, probably, if that. I didn't pay attention
this is how old I am. I went to a Ronald Reagan rally in Boston when I was in college.
Oh, I love it.
And yeah, it was awesome. But that was my first experience and I think my first election. Yeah.
Find out all about Mr. Negroni, dannegroni.com. Dan, we talk about Gen Z and they want it now, or their short attention spans and that type of thing. Do you think they were just bombarded to the point, and I'm talking about good bombardment, with the message, with finding out or having everything they could at their fingertips about the candidates, that maybe whether they didn't like Trump, loved Harris, didn't like Harris, loved Trump, that's what kind of spurned them to go ahead and wait in that 3-hour line.
I kind of believe people are people, and people make an instant gut reaction usually, and it's usually based on the family you come from, what your parents have said, an experience that you've had in the workplace or in school where you've developed a point of view. And so I think it's silly to think that you think J-Lo or Beyonce was influencing someone.
Right.
They look at those things, but they pretty much know who they are and where they're going when it comes to decisions like that. Like, life and how I want to show up and being completely aware. Yeah, they're young, so it takes time, right? But when it comes to politics, or I like this brand versus this brand, or I like this restaurant, or I like to do these things, I think they're pretty clear.
They're certainly opinionated, that's
well,
for
I mean,
sure.
you have a couple.
Yeah, they're opinionated, but it's based on the discussions we have. But I don't know. It's very interesting because it's so mixed. And with their friends, I asked them how they felt. It didn't go the way our family wanted, and we talked about it yesterday when they got home from school. That it was very mixed with their group of friends.
Very mixed.
Very mixed.
In my family, I have mixed. I have one kid that was crying, and the other kid that was like wearing his MAGA hat.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to tell you. I won't say which ones are who, but and I understand how they both feel.
Sure.
And so it's interesting.
Over 41 million Gen Z voters are out there.
Yeah.
Which is staggering.
Wow.
Staggering. Because there's only 150 million total.
Which is, and it shows you that in 4 years, the 2028 vote may look, or the campaigns may look totally different than what we had this year. And we saw a lot of influencing on social media, and you saw different types of commercials by the candidates. 2028 may be something that we've never even seen before.
I know. I think campaigns really, hopefully they have learned.
God.
They're going to go back and look at what you thought worked, didn't work,
Without a doubt.
what did work, you didn't think would work. And so they have a lot of work to figure out how to really connect with people and tell them their story.
Don't talk down to me. Talk to me.
I heard that a lot.
Yeah.
And
Tell me.
On both sides.
Yeah,
on both sides.
On both sides.
But we were talking earlier this week about how podcasts, Donald Trump went on a bunch
Great
of
point.
podcasts and Kamala Harris did not. And that's an interesting medium right now. I love podcasts, and I think that a lot of Gen Zers are listening to podcasts a lot.
They don't have TV. they don't have cable.
Right.
My daughter doesn't subscribe to cable.
They don't know what that
My
word
kids
means.
don't have cable. They just have either a streaming services or their phone and YouTube. And so I think us old folks are going to have to figure out really what is resonating with them and what they're listening to.
Dan Negroni, dannegroni.com is the website. He's our speaker, CEO, coach, consultant, chief launch officer. Always great when he spends some time with us here in studio. Now we got the next 4 years of President Trump.
Yes.
Allegedly, that's the way it is going to go. Do you? You
I don't
look
think
at
there's
him.
alleged about it.
Sorry, I'm just saying. You never know what's going to happen day to day. But you've got Gen Z. Here's a guy who's going to be 82.
Yeah.
When he is done.
Yeah.
Is there a massive disconnect, or does it show you based on the people that voted in this and voted for him that, hey, there really isn't that big of an age gap?
I don't think it's simple. He will have the youngest vice president ever, I think.
I was going to say,
40 years old.
Right.
So actually, as much as Harris said she was next generation leadership, he has his there too. And so they have the future of the MAGA party, the way the Republicans are presenting themselves, whatever it is. And so we'll see how that goes. We'll see if the president allows him some leeway.
Just as long as you make Super Bowl Sunday or the Monday after a national holiday.
There we go.
I'm good. I'm good.
How about changing daylight savings?
Changing daylight savings time. And Halloween is always the last Saturday of October.
Yeah, that's the other thing you want to
Does that work?
The docket, right?
We'll take them. Good to see you too.
dannegroni.com. Check him out. More Big Biz after this. It is time once again for the Sports Biz Minute, brought to you by PrizePicks, largest daily fantasy platform out there in the world today. Sign up at prizepicks.com. We'll start off in baseball. The World Series matchup between the Dodgers and Yankees, featuring the two biggest stars in the sport going head-to-head, caused tremendous demand for tickets. Online ticket seller TickPick said the average ticket price for a game between the Yankees and Dodgers was a record $1,703 on the secondary market. The previous record was about $1,600 in 2016 when the Cubs ended their 108-year championship drought in a thrilling 7-game series against Cleveland. NFL news, in one of the latest examples of media networks battling for bragging rights, Fox Corporation said it has sold out of its advertising inventory for Super Bowl licks in February at record pricing. As part of the fiscal first quarter earnings report, the Fox Sports parent said its ad units are gone more than 3 months before the game. Specific figures have not been released, but sales activity around the game has surpassed a $7 million rate per 30 seconds of airtime. Finally, basketball, Forbes released its list of the most valuable NBA franchises, and the Golden State Warriors topped the list at $8.8 billion valuation. They are followed by the Knicks, the Los Angeles Lakers, Boston Celtics, and the LA Clippers to round out the top 5. I'm Mike Costa. This has been your Sports Biz Minute. Once again, it's brought to you by PrizePicks, largest daily fantasy platform out there today. Simply sign up at prizepicks.com. Once again, here's Sully. Live from the Loft 100 studios, the Big Biz Show rolling on. We are headquartered here in sunny Southern California, wherever you're watching or listening. Thank you. I'm Costa. That is Marybird Godwin. And of course, the man right there, the man with the plan, as they say, Sully.
You got it. We are brought to you by Prudential. Let Prudential be your rock for retirement. Also brought to you by Bayer Advanced, better science, better results. Starbucks Coffee. Heard of them before. Outback Steakhouse is owned by Bloomin' Brands.
Yep.
Who also owns Bonefish Grill. Fleming Steakhouse, but nothing like authentic Australian food.
The best.
I love going to England. Put another shrimp on the body. Of course, Taylor Guitars. Thank you, friends. And of course, this is your favorite president, Donald Trump. You love my gold sneakers. They're still talking about him. And now, invest in one of my Trump watches because it's Trump time.
Trump time.
It's Trump time.
Oh, my God.
Hey, Steve Phillips is a host of Major League Baseball Network Radio, the leadoff spot on Sirius. Of course, you can go to SiriusXM.com. But we're so thankful to have him on the air because I listen to. I'm such a baseball fan.
Oh yeah.
Enough about my Phillies and my Padres. What do you think about my Phillies and my Padres? Is what it comes down to. Steve joins us now, talking about what's happening post World Series, and of course, Mike Costa, a sports analyst of some sort. Steve, how are you, sir? Good to see you, man.
Listen, I'm great. Good to be with you guys.
I got to ask you, did I hear correctly that post-World Series, every Major League Baseball players whose lives are in the balance have to be decided like in 5 or 6 days post-World Series? Is that an accurate statement?
Well, they have to declare free agency, and so they generally, it's easy, right? They're at the end of their contracts. They've played 6 years or more with a certain franchise, and they can declare free agency. So that part's the easy part. But then they've got the entire winter to try to negotiate contracts and figure out what team they're going to go to and how much money they're going to make.
Dodgers become the first team to rally from 5-0 deficit. I love stuff like that. Talk about some of those things that you saw in this last World Series.
I mean, really, it was an extraordinary World Series. I mean, the ratings were off the chart. I mean, the highest ratings in about a decade, and the ratings in Japan were even more significant. So all of that was fantastic, right? When you have Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, they were driving forces there in Japan. The Dodgers opening Japan next season again, and so certainly baseball marketing that team. But I think that we had superstars, right? We had we've never seen this before, where we had the AL AL MVP and Aaron Judge and the NL MVP and Shohei Ohtani. They both were the leaders in their respective leagues in home runs. For the first time ever, two guys with more than 50 home runs. You had Judge, who had arguably one of the best seasons ever for a right-handed hitter in the game. Ohtani did something nobody's ever done in a 50-50 season. We had the two best records in baseball, the two largest markets going at it. And quite honestly, it's good for baseball. I know people, sometimes don't like when the large markets and the teams that spend money get in, but the large markets, the health of the large markets really feeds the health of the game. And baseball needs villains. And I think that when the large markets win, people tend to not like them. But yet when they come to your city, you all go out and watch them play.
So
like the Yankees and Dodgers draw more than anybody else when they go to the road cities. And so I thought it was a great postseason, and we had a lot of star power who stepped up big.
You mean they'll clear the streets in St. Louis when the Padres show up, Mike? Is that
yeah. Steve, I want to ask you about, do you think that the Yankees, it came down to the Yankees just totally choking, or was it the Dodgers rising to the occasion, or a little bit of both?
Yes, it's yes, right? It's both.
Yes,
I mean, to a degree. Now, I will say that, that Game 5 was a microcosm of the season where you've got this Dodger offense that's relentless, and the Yankees, who don't do little things right. They did the big things right. They hit a lot of home runs. They drove the ball a lot, but they didn't run the bases well. In fact, John Sterling, their broadcaster, the radio announcer, at one point said, the Yankees run the bases like drunks at one point.
It's like the Kalina men's softball team on Tuesday nights. It is.
Right. They are drunk, but the Yankees aren't, and they run the bases like drunks. They miss cutoff men. They didn't make plays defensively. They didn't cover first base. And those little things, when you're playing great teams, it's not just the big things, because the other good teams could do the big things too. It's the little things that separate. And it was that fifth inning where they gave up the 5-run lead, allowed the Dodgers to get back in the game, and at that point, it unfolded for the Yankees. And so, they blew it, but I give the Dodgers a lot of credit. And look, even if the Yankees had won that game, I still believe the Dodgers would have ended up winning the series as well.
Steve Phillips is the host of Major League Baseball, MLB Network Radio, the leadoff spot. Much has been made of the behavior of Dodger fans and Yankee fans of this thing. And, for example, and I heard this on your show, talk about the Dodger fans trashing LA after winning the World Series. Also, you covered those Yankee season ticket holders yanking the Mookie Betts fly ball. Is this something that we need to get used to in terms of, or is it just Philly fans we have to worry about?
So what we realize is not just Philly fans. And so I grew up in Detroit. And back in 1984, the Tigers won the World Series. And,
remember. Thanks.
Yeah,
okay, you know what? I'm out. I'm leaving. Did he just mention the Padres Detroit World Series?
I didn't mention the Padres. I think you did.
Why would you?
I was trying not to. But Detroit, we torched the city.
Yeah.
We flipped cars. Yep. We had policemen on horses. The horses were, bucking, and it was chaos. And so I think, I don't know. I would think that you should act like you've won before when you've won a World Series. And look, I get in Boston if they make it crazy when they broke the curse in 2004. Yeah. The Cubs fans in 2016. But they actually behaved better than Dodgers fans did, better than Philly fans have, better than Tigers fans have. And so I think we just have to get used to that there's going to be chaos at some point.
Many of you, so you may be watching us across the country or maybe listening to us on American Forces Radio, so we use TV and radio at the same time, or you'd be watching us down in Mexico. But we broadcast out of San Diego. And if San Diego ever would have won a World Series, we'd go to bed at 9 versus 8.
Pretty much. Exactly. Steve, you mentioned Shohei Ohtani. He's going to have surgery on the shoulder. Is he, and we always love getting into the GOAT conversation because you can make an argument almost for any of the big names, those enshrined in.
No more than him, though. Come on.
Those, it's in your estimation, and you've seen a lot of them, is he the greatest you've ever seen?
Yes, I mean, there's nobody comparable.
Okay.
He's a unicorn. There's no two-way players. Even Babe Ruth didn't do what Shohei Ohtani is doing. So he had a season where he pitched most of the time. And remember, back then pitchers hit.
Yeah.
But he didn't really play in the field all that much. And then when he went to the field, he only pitched in like with the Yankees. I think he only pitched in like 3 or 4 games as a Yankee. Most of that pitching came as a member of the Red Sox. And so what Ohtani's doing is it can't be done. And what I'm worried about is his body has broken down twice, right? His elbow, he's had 2 Tommy John surgeries.
Yep.
And to me, that's his body saying, I can't do this. My body won't hold up doing it. And so now he hurt the left shoulder. He had surgery on it. They say he's going to be ready for opening day. Listen, be careful what you wish for. When he went to the Dodgers, he's now put himself in a position he's going to play an extra month into November or, and through October in the playoffs. That cuts down on a month worth of rest that he was getting as a member of the Angels. And so I think that his body and the recovery is going to be so critical. Now he's got a left shoulder. He's recovering from Tommy John surgery. He's going to have to get ready for the season. They say he's going to be ready for opening day. I don't know that he's going to be ready to pitch on opening day, but I think that they should slow it down.
Steve,
get him healthy for as many games as they can.
Is Dodger ownership going to have to eventually go to him and say, listen, pick one?
They signed him to be the two-way player.
Okay.
And, I think that they're going to have to work with him on that. But at some point, you can have a conversation where it becomes his idea that maybe it's not the best thing for me right now, and he should be a hitter. Like, if I chose one or the other, let him be a hitter. Because this guy
said the GM.
can rake.
You got to make it his idea as Steve's negotiating.
So smart.
Fantastic. Steve, we need to have you back over and over again if you're willing. Steve Phillips.
Happy to do it, guys.
Hosted MLB Network Radio, the leadoff spots.
I like guys like him.
Let's bring up the Detroit Tigers.
Oh, I know.
Didn't they do a movie called League of Their Own? Perfect. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
The wounded just healed. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, thank you for being with us. Another edition of the Big Biz Show. Coming to you live from the Loft 100 studios here in sunny Southern California. Costa, Marybird Godwin right there in that fine-looking winter sweater. And, of course, Sully.
Great to have you along today. Troy Hazard, of course, the author of the book Future Proofing Your Business and the Naked Entrepreneur. Good, close friend of mine, business partners, also a host here on BizTV for many years called Getting Down to Business. We'd love to bring that show back. And, of course, one of the most prolific keynote speakers in this country, talking about the future and being prepared. Troy is one of those guys that he and his wife, Dom, set up a business plan for their life and their careers about October of every year, and it's a living document. It's something that I think you could do a whole series on, Troy. But what's interesting here is we have to talk about this election because you look at this election unlike any other person I've ever met. And his message overall is the Democrats didn't listen to their customers. And that's why they lost. And I think that is so brilliant. Troy, great to have you, brother. Good to see you, man.
How are you?
This is what you do anyway. When you go into businesses and consult, you talk about the obvious. So you took this as the Democrats are the business and the voters are the customers. And you're maintaining that. Why was there such a whitewash in the White House? Simply put, because the Democrats just didn't listen to their customers, and their customers wanted something different than they actually pushed. Talk about that for a minute. That's brilliant.
Well, there's two ways to look at it. Either the Republicans won the election or the Democrats lost it. And I think that they lost it because they just didn't listen. There was three simple things that America was crying out for. They wanted a better economy, they wanted better borders, and they wanted a better story. And I didn't hear that, in particular, in the last couple of weeks. Coming up to those closing hours, I'm starting to think, wow, this is going to be really, really close. This is going to be something that I can't pick. And so many people around my network have been calling me and talking to me saying, well, what do you think? And I'm literally saying, I don't know. I cannot see a winner here until that last week or so when there was a lot of questions being asked, but not a lot of answers coming forward.
What's interesting, when you say a better economy, talk about that, because I think from you and I talking, everyone wanted a better economy, but if I'm not mistaken, you don't think that any solution was shown, correct?
No, I don't think so. And then look at the general narrative. The general narrative for me was that they focused too much on their enemy and not enough on the economy. The amount of times that I heard Vice President Harris say Donald Trump in a rally was just extraordinary. And someone said it was like 100 or 150 times in one particular rally. When you are talking that much about your competitor and you don't recognize that you're giving them a leg up because you're talking about them, that's just naive. And it's not because they couldn't have a better conversation. They just didn't have a better conversation.
Mary, what's your opinion on this?
I totally agree. I many times was watching all the times she was interviewed or speaking, and I thought she's not answering the questions directly enough for people to wrap their heads around. People that are on the fence or not understanding or fearful about the economy and the borders. She was not coming forward enough. And I am a big proponent of hers. I really wanted her to win. I believed in her. But I remember thinking, I don't think she reached the people that she needed to reach.
I sort of felt like, and you made a great point earlier, and that's that she was sort of unprepared because she did no choice other than be unprepared. She was thrust.
Exactly right.
She was thrust into this thing, and what happens when I've seen myself be thrust into things, I tend to use platitudes. We got this.
Yes.
This is going to be great, as if just saying so will make it so.
And to go to Troy's point about the October, you're looking now for next year. She had 107 days in the year to fix it. She wasn't looking forward, and the Democratic Party should have seen that Joe Biden was not the person to carry the ticket, and they should have made that decision way later.
I agree. Now, you don't know what hindsight's 2020. Troy, one of the border things is, and obviously the border crisis has gone on through many administrations.
Yeah.
It's been exacerbated this time. I think part of the reason is because Trump built a wall that Joe Biden didn't want a wall. So it's just like I tell my daughters yesterday who were not happy about the election. I said, look, you can double down on a couple things. Women's reproductive rights are going to be talked about more now than they were even during the election because people are going to dig their feet in the sand.
Yep.
Just like a number of other environmental causes and so on and so forth. Probably even more than if it was President Harris versus President Trump. The one thing about the border is that, don't you think that rather than denying the problem, there should have been some sort of a face forward, like, okay, guys, you know what? We stepped in it, we smeared in the carpet, but I do have a plan going forward.
I was so mad that she didn't do that, actually. I 100% think she should have said, this is a mess. This is a full mess.
Right, no apology, right, Troy?
Right.
She didn't do
so
that.
when you couple that with the fact that when asked, could you think of anything that Joe Biden did have changed, and your answer is nothing that comes to mind.
Jeff, no.
That doesn't help that discussion.
No.
So now we've got 2 points. We've got the economy and the border with no story that follows it that's better than that we were 4 years ago. So all that means is that Republicans come out and say, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And everyone looks at it and says,
but the interesting part of what you just said there is that if I'm an independent voter, but I wasn't an undecided voter. Don't you think the undecideds, if someone were to be contrite, if someone were to admit, we didn't get this right. I know I've said in public, this is my job. What am I else going to say? I blew it, or we blew it, or what? Any sort of contrition would have moved those undecideds, right? Or
yes.
No?
However, I remember thinking she can't do that. Because then it's going to be
she admits
spun.
fault or something?
Yeah, and I just know the other side would have spun it. Could you imagine the headlines if she had said that?
I think she tried to, but too late. That's
the whole thing about the unvarnished media.
I agree.
You don't have an unvarnished media that's going to allow you to say something and then come out and
when she finally started to say stuff like, well, I'm not Joe Biden, or you could
But the point is
her
that,
trying to tear away. But
why is the mainstream media? This is why I say Joe Rogan's of the world, the guy who wrote For a Work Week. There's several women podcasts I listen to. All the names escape me right now. They're all looking for. Those guys are not looking for aha moments. Terrestrial news sources are all waiting for aha moments like that. Which is why she couldn't do that, because she would have been pounced upon.
Right.
Right?
Well, they're looking for that. They're also looking for authenticity. We've had 4 years where we just want people to be authentic. Actually, I'll rephrase that. We have had 8 years where we wanted people to just be simply authentic. And if you can do that with intelligent people, and I think we're intelligent, then it's an easier conversation to have. And putting your hand on your heart and saying you've made a mistake, from a leadership perspective, we know that to be a good move. If I'm running a business, I make a mistake, I put my hand on and say, I made a mistake, guys, but let's learn from that and move forward. I didn't hear any of that.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've not heard any of that for a number of decades. I'd love to hear that in politics.
Well, if
I want them to stop throwing stones.
If you think about the Republicans listening to their audience, that really was a great slogan. Are you better off now than you were for years? Now, maybe not everybody listened to it, but you're listening to your customer at that point.
But we're all reeling from COVID still. No matter who was president, we all would have had inflation.
So then
no
why not?
What.
Then we should say that.
She should have said that. I agree.
Troy, let's get the next half of this next week, buddy. Such good stuff. Future-proofing your business. Real-life strategies to prepare your business for tomorrow. Today, Troy Hazard, TroyHazard.com. Thank you, pal. I appreciate it. One of my favorite guys in the whole wide world. More Biz coming up. Stand by.